not our jurisdiction, it's their jurisdiction. That's why talking and talking diplomatically, you know, at the end, Indonesia say, okay, all right, we allow. Because Malaysia, I really need that. That's why I said to you that why I'm in this area, because this is the needs of it. And also the agriculture, also at the farm, many farmers, they are using Indonesian workers. Okay, my research and interview with them, especially in Johor and in Pahang, the vegetables plantation and also the farmers area in Johor, why you choose Indonesia instead of others? First, they are very hardworking. Second, they know how to pick the fruits, the vegetables. So you see, the element of expertise in Indonesian workers is really needs. That's why the sector in Malaysia rely on that. Okay, and a domestic work. This is a very special domestic work, which is not that many Indonesian lady want to work anymore. If they are come from Java Island, not so much they want to work in this. Yeah, except they are from Nusa Tenggara area or Papua, then they would like to get to know, to work with this. But I will explain to you a few cases regarding the domestic work, because domestic work is a very, very challenging for us to discuss and also to protect them, because they are different from the other five. Okay, okay, next slide. Okay, this is a fundamental right for migrant workers, whether you like it or not. For me, the recognition that all migrant workers, both in regular and irregular situation, and they are human beings. That make me love this field very much, because they are human beings, regardless of nationality, regardless religion. We are all human beings and entitled to the enjoyment of fundamental rights without discrimination. This is something that in Malaysia, you need to work very hard to ensure people knows this. And in Malaysia, the problem is we do not recognize irregular migrants. Because once you come no documented, you are not, you as if not exist in Malaysia. So you are very afraid that they may be catched by the police, by the immigration, by any other authorities. And also if they are being abused at the workplace, they really cannot go to the police station to make a report. Because first thing the police will say, where is your passport and visa? They cannot produce that. This is why back in 2010, when I came to Indonesia, to Jakarta, talking to a few agents, I said, do not bring the irregular people to Malaysia, please not. Because you are really betray them. They have a very high hope to work in Malaysia, but without proper document, they are illegal. And illegal under our immigration law is you are not exist. You don't get any chance to exist as human being. This is the reality. So this is why the situation, but there is also the situation, they come document, but they become undocumented later because of the situation. So this what we will discuss accordingly after this. See that the Indonesian workers come documented and how they become undocumented later on. Okay, next slide. Okay, look, this is the legal framework covering Indonesian legal migration, which I believe your country is really up to date in terms of protected your people abroad. Seriously, I learned this, you know, like the decree of the head of Indonesian Migrant Worker Protection Agency number 255 of 2023, you get the government regulation of replacement of law, the Republic of Indonesia number 2 of 2022, you get a law on number 18 of 2017 on the protection of Indonesian migrant workers. This is one of the very, very best law from my understanding, that because it's already said protection of Indonesian migrant workers, very clear. And the others also, you have also the law number of 39 of 2004 on the protection of Indonesian migrant workers. Look, your country keep updating, keep amended this decree, this law to ensure the protection of your people abroad. Okay, and you also get all the regulation of the ministers of manpower. You have the regulation of the regarding the ministers again of the manpower, to show that the Indonesian government are not neglect their people. Of course, it's not neglect your people, because the remittance that sent back to Indonesia from your people abroad is much, and it's really developed the economic and also the potential of your country. So in this case of the legal framework covering Indonesian labor work migration, I believe Indonesian from day by day is really amended the best. And also not forget the 1945 Constitution of the Republic of Indonesia that guarantee your people freedom and expression. That's a very clear. Okay, next slide. This is the problem that starts because we have the ICMW, what we call the International Convention on the Protection of the Rights of all Migrants, Workers, and Members of their families. I worked on this 2 years on the, sponsored by European Union, and that's a really, really time to see that many of our ASEAN country leaders are not really care about the migrant workers. I'm brave to say this. Because the country that rectify and be member of the ICMW is only Indonesia and Philippines. Why Indonesia and Philippines? You export your people. You are from all the 10 ASEAN countries, these 2 countries is the highest numbers of migrant workers. Philippines, almost 17 to 27 million of their peoples abroad. Indonesia are more. 1 million in Saudi Arabia, 1.3 million in Malaysia, and all over the world. So you rectify this because you want your people to be recognized in the receiving country. The signatory but don't know when to rectify is a Cambodia. Cambodia before is sending to us, to Malaysia, their domestic helper. But because of few cases that really extreme abuse happened in Malaysian house, the Cambodian government decide not to send anymore. And sometimes I feel shame with my own people because I don't know what they have in their mind when they receive the domestic worker. I don't know whether they look at domestic worker as a slave. I don't know. But the way that this Cambodian ladies die is they starve her. That she come is 44 kilos. You know, Cambodia is one of the poorest country in ASEAN. So when they come, they have a big dream to get money, to have their family better life. Simple as that. And we don't understand that. And she being abused, she being starved to death. When the time the police covered the body in the house, she's always 20 kilos. So, and after that, the Cambodia said to Malaysian government, no more Cambodian made to Malaysia until today. They keep the moratorium. So the non-parties of this ICMW is Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, Vietnam, Myanmar, and Thai. Myanmar we do understand, but Thai also they are receiving many Myanmar's immigrants and Laos immigrants. And Malaysia and Singapore from Indonesia, from Philippines, from Thailand, Brunei also, and Vietnam also receiving Laos people. So the receiving country are not the party. Whereas the receiving country should be the member because you receive this. So you need to protect them. Okay, in the case of Malaysia, I can tell you, we went to see all those parties that the stakeholder for all those immigrants. But this is so funny. I just went to one of this office of this ministry, and I sit down, and the director said to me, "Why you come here, Prof? You are talking about ICMW?" I said, "Yes," because I put in my letter why I need to meet him. I still standing when he said that no, Malaysia would not sign the ICMW. Get it clear. No signatory, no sign. Without listen to what we're going to say, I say. You see the attitude? You see how terrible it is for me that, okay, let's listen first. Don't reject me just like that. Listen. Why Malaysia have to listen to this ICMW? Okay, the Malaysians say that we're not going because if we sign, we rectify this ICMW, then we got 1.3 million Indonesian workers will bring their family inside. Okay, we're not going to pay for their children's schools and all that. I understand. But I think that can we just look into it? I say, can we just have a look on the protection of the right of all migrant workers? Because we are receiving country for many workers. So why not? Okay, we don't want their members of their family. We can always put, I said, I can say the reservations, but don't just simply turn down like that. But this is what happened. They turned down it. So they don't want to have that things. When we talk at with the people at Malaysian Foreign Affairs, of course, foreign affairs are more diplomatic way and say that it's a very good. But at the end of the day, the ones that going to make the decision is the Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of the Immigration, and also the Ministry of Human Resource. Human resource, not so much problem, but Home Affairs give me so much problem. For example, we don't want this issue of security, blah, blah, blah. I said, make it very clear. You don't want to sign, isn't it? Just make it clear. Don't go around the bushes and saying that, you don't want to sign. Okay, you don't want to sign? And they said, no, we're not going to sign it. Not at all. Okay, thank you. So that's why you see this chart. Philippines and Indonesia become the party, because you are sending your people abroad. And Cambodia, signatory, don't know when to rectify, but all those receiving country, they don't want to be a party. What can we call it? Selfish? Yes, it is. Okay, interest of a country? I think we can talk bilateral between two countries, right? And it's not that today that we receive the immigrants, we receive it since late 1970s. So this is the issue that until we have to bring this, because of that, it's quite controversial in Malaysia, but I don't care. I still write what is supposed to be right, and some people criticize me, some people blame me and saying that why you have to taking care of these people. You should taking care of your people. I said these people come to our country. Can you imagine if we went to another country, we don't have a family, we have to work with the family that we never knew. We have to work with them. Can you imagine that? I said, so if no one look at them and their faith, who else need to? Okay, I do understand that the Indonesian embassy in Kuala Lumpur work very hard to protect, but they are based in Kuala Lumpur and you are around Malaysia. Yeah, I do understand you have your chancelleries in Sabah and Sarawak and in Penang, in Johor Bahru, but it's still not enough because you are scattered around Malaysia. So some are very rural area in a plantation, some in rural area of Lahad Datu, some in rural area of Miri and Sibu. So that area cannot reach your councillor. So how we help? That's how people like me and NGOs will go and help. So that's why you ask me whether I feel disappointed. Yes, because they don't want to listen first the reason why Malaysia should look at least this treaty. And I look like the government are not feel okay with that. So we are still working on it. I never stop, but I think I give you the idea that this is the challenges that we face and the issue because of the receiving country do not want to be the member of the ICMW. Next slide. Okay, this is the Malaysian legal framework regarding migrant workers. First and foremost, Malaysian federal constitutions are talking about everyone, not only Malaysian, everyone who in Malaysia, they are be guaranteed their human rights and expression. So I bring this issue. Is it our federal constitution are not work on the freedom of expression and also the freedom for the migrant workers? No one want to answer me. But for me, yes. The Immigration Act, there's another problem for us. The Immigration Act 1959 in Malaysia are not the same like the Immigration Act in Sabah and also not the same like the Immigration Act in Sarawak. That's why when many people tell Malaysian government, amend your Immigration Act, we cannot amend because Sabah and Sarawak have their own Immigration Act. So if we want to amend, it's only applicable in Peninsular Malaysia, but not applicable in Sabah and Sarawak. Because Sabah and Sarawak, they joined Malaysia in 1963 with a few conditions. Condition which is regarding religion, education, and the immigration are still under them. So our Peninsula and Sabah and Sarawak still integrating. And if we, at least myself, Malaysia, I'm from Peninsular Malaysia, I want to go to Sabah and Sarawak, I need to bring my ID. I mean, people some sort like, what? You bring, like, for example, someone from Sumatra come to Java, have to bring the IC. It's like, it's funny. But yes, because their immigration are not same as our immigration in Peninsula, and Sabah and Sarawak different. That's why the enforcement are different. The officers different attitudes. But in Peninsular Malaysia are more relaxed. But Sabah and Sarawak more rigid, because that's what they promised by federal government when they joined us in 1963. This is what we call the agreement 1963. That's now very quite controversial, because Sabah and Sarawak say no, this is us, maintain that way. So that's a frustration, because every time we said you need to amend, at least give something on that. New. I know Sabah and Sarawak say no, you can go on Peninsular Malaysia, no problem, but we're not going to. So what's the point? If you have this Peninsular Malaysia but Sabah and Sarawak don't want to amend, no point. So this is another dilemma. So you know that how it's not easy. And then the Employment Act, yes, we protect, even though you are immigrants, you are document, you are under the Employment Act. We have this ATIPSOM, which is to anti-smuggling people. And that's why I think for last week, there is two or three cases. The police saved a few Indonesian lady, I think not, about 10 to 11 Indonesian lady. They are forced to be prostitutes in Kuala Lumpur, whereas when they are back in Indonesia, they are being promised to work in the restaurant. This is another issue, that some of them are being used by this cleaning company, working non-stop, from morning to afternoon, afternoon to night, working in a different houses and not being paid. They're just giving the lodging and the foods, but not being paid. So sometimes they wrote something on the house that they go, please help me, and that kind of thing. So they called the police, and the police will make this ambush and so on and catch. Like yesterday, the two Chinese ladies already been executed in the Malaysian Session Court for become the pimps for these 11 Indonesian women. And sometimes, again and again, this lady, they don't want to be a prostitute in Kuala Lumpur. They don't want to be. They are being lied when they are here in Indonesia, that they will go somewhere like nice place, waitress, working in the hotel, but when they arrive, that's another issue. So that's why Indonesian government, after COVID, are very much aware of this. And I think thank you to your embassy in Kuala Lumpur, because you have a very strong and outspoken ambassadors at this moment. He's the one that he doesn't want to see officer, he just want to see minister. And Malaysia cannot say no, because he's representative of the president of Indonesia. So our ministers like get headache, because he said that we want this, we want this. Knowing Pak Harmono, he's like that. So I think that's good. I said, let them get headache of it. So then he said, I want to see ministers, I don't want to see officers, no director, no nothing, just minister. So ministers have to entertain him. You know how big is the issue Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur if he not be entertained? That's why our ambassador in Jakarta is being very selective to be ambassador in Indonesia. We not simply send anyone to Indonesia, get it clear. Because for us, this is the hot spots. Whoever passed their tenure in Indonesia, they can be posting anywhere in the world. So if you can deal with Indonesia regarding these migrant workers, you are superb. So that's why we know that. So we also protect through the OSHA, the migrant workers, the occupational safety and health. That's why we have FOMAMA, and we are enforced everyone must pay for their migrant workers insurance. We don't want anymore the workers got accident at the construction site, at the plantation, and just be like that. Leave it at the hospital. No one care about them. There are so many cases like that, and the NGO take over, and we went to visit. Some died during working. No compensation for the family back in Indonesia. What is this? They're just sending the body. Can you imagine your husband or your brother, your sister working in Malaysia? Somebody knock the door. This is the body of your family members. What do you feel? You need to have for us, is need to have a very clear on that. So that's why OSHA is doing this thing. If there is any accident, where is the insurance? The health insurance. If there is health insurance, occupied for him to be in the hospital. Many of this company, they paid more These immigrants would not be in the Malaysian hospital, government hospital, will be in the private hospital. This is what we want. Yeah, and also we have the Workmen Compensation Act. Like some people say, they are migrants, they're not going to get any compensation. Says who? They have to get it. That's why in many cases, many company or many families still pay to the Indonesian workers despite they no more work with them. Because when they go to the court said you still have to pay. You must pay. So there is a Workmen Act, yeah, the compensation. So don't be quiet on that. And then we also have the Industrial Relation Act. Yes, when they have still can bring their case. They have the Trade Union Act where they said Indonesian workers or any migrant workers cannot have the trade union. Trade union is only for local. But what they do, the Indonesian, they have their own trade union outside. They have their own. So their own is the one to help them very much. And also we as researcher also will always reach to these people. This is someone that very respected among all, maybe the most senior migrant in Kuala Lumpur or in other part of Malaysia, being believed that he's carried out his work very good, his adaptation with many Malaysian authority. So he will be up as the leaders. So we will always connect with this. They have like the Persatuan, the association, yeah, in Malaysia, and we are not banned them to have that, and they are also being bring the freedom for them for their own political parties. In Malaysia now, the good things about Indonesian workers is you can perform your political parties. So because Malaysia is the largest country to be pulled for your last president, for the election of a president, Malaysia is the largest place for about 800,000 Indonesian went out to elect your president. So we are open about it, and Malaysia feel happy to see there's so many partai. You know, in Malaysia we are rigid. We not many party like in your country. Your country got so many, and everybody come together. And like Malaysia, we not. We are still about 10 party and very boring, and talking bad about each other. So we see that when during your election of your president, everybody come out with the ideas of why Anies Baswedan, why Prabowo, why this guy. So we are so fascinating to see this. So Malaysia are giving the freedom of the political parties for Indonesian in Malaysia. Yes. Again, a passport, right? I'm not going to talk about it because passport is clear. No passport, you are illegal. The Employment Restriction Act also, we are talking about the dangerous work that cannot be given to these migrant workers. They need to be selected. The private employment agencies also, we have to cater this employment agency not to bring the underage girl or underage boy as a migrant workers. We have a few cases where they from Indonesia, they give false information regarding the girls. The girl is actually 15 years old, and they put her as 22 years old. And then our agency took her and brought her to the house. And the owner of the house said that she doesn't believe this lady, 22 years old, because still kids, still happy with her own kids, playing Barbie and so on. And she said, no. And then when asked, she said that, I don't know, my passport being given like blah, blah. So she made a police report and brought that cases to us. And when we interviewed her, we found out that her age is 15 years old. And that is taken very serious by the Embassy of Indonesia in Kuala Lumpur, because it's underage girl brought up through agency to the foreign people house in a foreign country, despite we can arrive by 2 hours by flight, but still another jurisdiction. And this is about girls, not women, not young lady. So, at that time, I remember that the attaché in Indonesia embassy said they will given back this to the authority in Indonesia to check who actually brought the girl to do the passport and so on. And also regarding the Contract Act, that's why now all these Indonesian workers, they need to read their contracts. It's because we need them to know that, how far that they understand the contract. Because they need to know their salary. They need to know if they have the overtime. They need to be paid like what. So many people are being protected in the services industries and also the manufacturing, because when they want to work, they have to sign. But that's why my discussion with the attaché, the labor attaché at the Indonesian embassy, I said, we need to give them a class. Malaysian contract law is different, I said. So you need to at least, when every arrival, you need to give them talk, okay, read carefully. When they mean like this, means this, because I don't want them to work for nothing. Then sometimes this company take advantage of these people because they know these people are working hard. Okay, I pay you 1,500. Actually, more than that. So that's why the Contract Act is in Malaysia. It needs to be understood accordingly. And I already proposed to the Indonesian embassy to have at least the pre-departure for immigrants from Indonesia. At least from Indonesia, they know what contract looks like. Their contract of works. And then regarding the Employee Social Security Act, some of the company put like saving. Many of the company, the big company, they put like a saving for their immigrants workers. So some of the Indonesian migrant workers, they have finished their terms 2 years, they want to come back to Indonesia, they got a little bit saving. For example, 5,000 to 10,000 ringgit Malaysia from their company because they save. So they give. So also the EPF for this level of officers above, they put in Malaysian EPF. So some of they got also their monies when they want to leave. Employment insurance system, this is I said to you, we enforce to all the company that takes, and also the family that takes Indonesian workers to their house, to their company, they need to have the insurance. If they don't have the insurance, the immigration will come and raid the place. Because we don't want any human slavery, bondage and so on. Yeah? And last but not least, for those who are not forced to abide all the laws, there is a penal code for them. Okay? And also there is a few times I've been told by many people say, oh, why bring so many Indonesians to Malaysia? Because they come here and they do the robbery, they do all those things. I said that's human factor. Not 1.3 million are all robbers. So that's also the challenges that I face, because people are talking about the issue of the criminals. But when you go to the prison in Malaysia, the largest number are not Indonesian. The largest numbers are Malaysians. So I said that, of course there is one or two noticed Indonesian, but to generalize, everyone want to rob you, that's a very wrong. I was with these Indonesian workers start from 2005 until today. No one robbed me. Sometimes I just work to their construction site, working with them, talking to them. I understand Indonesian language, definitely. Then they talking to me like, okay. I say, you okay, Baba? You okay, Bu? Yeah, okay, and all that. That's why during COVID, they are more comfortable to text me, WhatsApp me, and saying that we don't have rice, we don't have eggs, we are starved here, the company not come, and we cannot go out because of the border closes and also the curfew and so on. So how, Ibu, we want to eat and all that. So I'm the one with the NGOs contacting the Indonesian embassy, get the permission from police. We just move, get the permission, then we move, send them the baby, the milk and all that. Why should I do this, right, at the first place? Because I know them like my family. I'm talking to them. And some of them back to Indonesia, open the businesses, and some of them perform Hajj and Umrah with their hard work in Malaysia. May Allah receive all their pahala and all that because of what they do. Okay, next slide. This is the very important for the migrant workers. Normally, I will always say, give them pre-departure regarding the Employment Act of Malaysia, Immigration Act, Workers Minimum Standard of Housing and Amenities Act 2019. The Workers Minimum Standard of Housing and Amenities are very, very nostalgia to me. We start to campaign to our government to have these migrants to have a very good standard of housing. If you went back in 2000, you went to the area of the construction site, it's really rubbish. No water tank, it's just a dirty water. It's just like they treat these immigrant workers like nothing, just to ensure you keep up to this building, ensure it's on time. we campaign in it. You know that how many people hate us because we campaign for the workers' minimum standard of housing, okay? Just minimum standard of housing and amenities. Let them have lodging, let them have house as human being. Because they are working long hours. Can you, okay, I dare to ask you, go to work as a construction site under this 32, 38 degrees. Go and do it. You don't know how is it. Very hot. Some of them say we can't, they can't puasa during Ramadan because of this. I said, it's okay, Bapa, because Allah said you are working hard and it's heavy work, you are being excused from that. So they are still, some try to fast half days and so on. Go and do the work before complaining. So we campaigning to parliament, to our state assemblymen, we are being turned down, people say not important, blah, blah, blah. For almost 20 years, only 2019, after long way, the government of Malaysia gazette this Workers' Minimum Standard of Housing and Amenities Act 2019. After all the tears, people would not understand. So for us, it's like at that time, me and all my group that working on this for almost 20 years, don't know, we look each other, is real? Is it so real? At last the parliament is passed that, gazette, that law, because everybody no. But we got very much supported from the opposition party. We got very much support by the opposition party at the parliament that really raised their voice and say that the immigrant workers are human beings. Get along with that, we have to. So now, if the immigrant workers can report to the police if they are being placed at the place with not housing or not suitable for them. So, and immigration and the agent and one of the enforcement unit under Ministry of Human Resource will come and check. And if they found that is not suitable, they will compound the company. So many companies now, they don't want to have the problem because it will tarnish the image and also their business. So everybody put the immigrant workers at a good place. But still construction site, we have to deal with it almost of a time because they are stay at the place where they are doing their construction. So we need to ensure that the construction site also safe for this, especially if they are husband and wife working. They have babies. And also, because you'll not be surprised to see that husband and wife from Indonesia, they are working in the construction site. And the women are doing the hard work same as men. And they have babies. That's why, and again, another issue is the education for the immigrants workers, family. And this issue are brought in Sabah and Sarawak because many of the plantation workers in Sabah and Sarawak, they bring their family. So the kids is with them. Certain age, they need to go to school. Kindergarten. The discussion with the embassy at this moment is that Indonesian government want to build a school in Sabah and Sarawak because that is the population of, in the area of plantation, many kids, many Indonesian kids, they want to build the Indonesian school. For those who are working as a expatriate in Kuala Lumpur or any agency in Kuala Lumpur, they have the Indonesian school in Kuala Lumpur so they can send their kids. But still, they need to pay. But if they are expatriate, no problem. But we're talking about the labor. So we are still ongoing discussion with the embassies and hope that the government of Indonesia and Malaysia can still look into it because the education of the children is a human rights. Cannot deny their education start from the kindergarten. So I hope the country are not overlooked on this. Yeah? And also the anti-trafficking in person and anti-smuggling. This is also very important. As I said to you, we are not take advantage on it because of this, it can turn Jakarta-Kuala Lumpur relationship to be sour. Because Indonesian always expecting that Malaysia can taking care of their people. And Malaysian part also need to taking care of because we are receiving millions of Indonesian in our country. And not to mention 1.3 million is only migrant workers documented. Yeah, I'm not talking about the Indonesian lady who married Malaysian man, Indonesian man married with a Malaysian woman. That one is not in that category. Because once they are married, they are not migrant workers anymore. They are a spouse program, visa. So if any of you like Indonesian woman married with Indonesian man, even though you are come to Malaysia as a migrant workers, but once you cancel your migrant workers, you are with your husband, you are in the visa, which is spouse program visa. So I think after certain years, you can get Malaysian PR. Indonesian are more easy to get that PR because can speak Malay. Because our immigration is more concerned about who to can speak Malay. So like that, you know. But I think Indonesian are the largest having PR Malaysia because easy. Because we say, okay, can you wearing sarung? So the Indonesian man can wearing sarung, but the foreign man cannot. So the sarung will be always down. So the immigration always give. We can see Indonesian PR. We always give the PR more to the Indonesian, whether they're married to Malaysian woman or the married to the Malaysian man. But many of the Indonesian women, they are married rich Malaysian men, very rich. And they help me a lot because during the COVID, I will contact them and ask them because their in-laws is a very, I can say, someone that very close to the palace, to the government. So I just ask them that, can we help these Indonesian workers in certain area near my house? They need rice, they need this. So they will reply, okay, no problem. I my group will come. So this is to show that despite they are PR Malaysia, they are not forget that they have their own people around them that needs. So I'm really applause for all these ladies for helping us during COVID. And during COVID, it's opened my mind about the relationship, about the humanity, about how we can work together. So that's why I don't like people to say bad about each other country. No, because you don't know. For me, I work on it. So I know that how the good relationship can help many people. So don't think that by saying bad about each other country is good. No, it's not good. For me, Indonesia is always special on your own. Malaysia is special on our own. So nothing to compare. Because I both have that. But in terms of migrants, we have to take care. Because if the company do not do goods to the people, to the migrants, then we have to take an action. Because the law is there. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is the issues and challenges faced by Indonesian migrant workers. First and foremost is ongoing immigration rate, which is still fear amongst undocumented migrant workers. Okay, let me tell you about the story of documented migrant suddenly become undocumented. Why? Because when they come, they are all documented. But because of a company don't want to pay their salary, they don't want to renew this workers' visa. So when they know that another 2 days or 3 days will expire. On the expire, when the workers say, boss, when we can get our visa? When? Oh, soon. Because they are the one who held this passport. Yeah? When the actual day expired, they call immigration. So the immigration come and see all the undocumented brought all to this prison. This is the tactics, and we know for so many years. And we're not going to tolerate with that. That's why our discussion with the immigration, we said the immigration section need to have the red, green, red colors of section when they know that certain people have to expire their visa, why their company not come and renew it. Because many don't want to pay for their Indonesian workers, that's what they do. So the Indonesian workers always say, boss, when we can get our visa, because you know it's going to be expired soon. They say okay, but actually on the day that expired, they call the immigration. So the immigration have to take these workers because they are become undocumented. So this is the fear of the people that Indonesia are still, if their company hold their passport. But there is one very epic situation when we have a big company, plantation, based in Pahang. This case is something that I would not ever forget. They take about 120 passport of all the Indonesian workers, afraid that this Indonesian worker will run away. I said, they're not going to run away. That's jungle. I said, the Indonesian worker will not run away, and it's not near airports. In the middle of Pahang, in the middle of Peninsular Malaysia, no problem. And you know what happened? The bag that they brought, these all Indonesian workers is lost, with 120 passport of Indonesian in that. How you want to replace it? Not one, but 120. So all the Indonesian workers are so scared. They keep texting the labor attaché and saying that they don't see their passport. for so long, and they're afraid to go out from the estate, because the plantation area, because they want to go to the nearest city to buy things, to watch movie and so on. They cannot do it because they don't have passport, and they're afraid that they will be, being catched by the police and so on. Later, when the Indonesian embassy found it, actually the company have to say that they lost. I just don't know what to say at that time. Can you imagine? Reckless. That's why we said do not take the passport. It's wrong. It's wrong. You cannot give your passport to anyone. It's belong to you. That's the first situation, yeah? And also the violence, including torture, whipping, sexual abuse. This has happened to the domestic helper. And how many of them being raped quietly? How many of them being whipped quietly? As I said to Dr. Wahyu last night, we might have a recent visit, we might have visit soon to the house, the welfare house that financed by the Indonesian embassy in Kuala Lumpur, that you have to see that what type of abuse that these people rendered because of their crazy employers. Because I'm telling you, you won't believe it. Some being thrown with the hot water, some we throw the hot oil, some, being slapped until lost the teeth and so on. I was like, are they not human? What is the problem with that? If they don't know how to do the work, show to them. So every time you go there, you become emotional. And they know me, so sometimes they say, Ibu, sakitnya di sini ya. So I was like, oh my God, how? And then the doctors come and all that, and they just want to go back to Indonesia. They don't want to proceed with the police. No, just give us the flight ticket, we come back, and would never come back. Seriously, this is something that bad. For me, it's very, very, very emotional situation. And also regarding the unpaid wages, extreme workload, no holiday. Also, these people who working alone in the household area. Because if you're talking about unpaid wages in the construction area, no, they will go out and make a noise. Any other industries, because there are many, so they can always show and also contact the embassy to ask. But for this helper, domestic helper, this is a problem. They are alone, people don't know. So sometimes there is a cases, last year, she was working with that family for 12 years, not even single cent she get. And you know that the court asked that family to pay almost about 200,000 ringgit Malaysia, covering the trauma, the experience, cut off from her family in Indonesia, terrible. And also there is a lack of access to their passport, as I said to you. The company love to hold their passport. So they don't know whether they can go out or the day they have to go out, the company gave. But the company took their passport, which is wrong. In Malaysian law, is wrong. You cannot take any people's ID, you cannot hold anyone's passport. That's wrong. But because they are immigrants and they are scared, so they just give. This is why, for me, the pre-departure, post-departure, we need to tell them, no, don't give your passport to anyone. It's belong to you. It's belong to you. If you're being abused, you can easily run to the police because you have the document with you. Okay? And also the reduce of loss of income, unemployment, and irregularity. As I said to you, during COVID, easy. Okay, I don't want you. You go. What? Where to go? They are immigrants. They need something from their company to show this and that. But the company like, okay, I reduce your work up to 500. You know what happened to even to the cleaner in my university? They came to see me. They said, the boss reduced their salary from 1,000 ringgit to 500. I said, then what? We cannot pay the rent. We cannot eat much because of this. So I make a noise to the university. I said, what type of contractors that you give to have this kind of tender in our university when they abuse this staff? These workers. So after I make a noise, people don't like me too when I make a noise because I really make a noise. So people just really don't like me. So what they do is the university say, okay, all right, let's discuss. So after that, they change the company, and the new company pay them accordingly. See, just because they are immigrants, simple. Yeah, this is the responsibility that not be there, and the issue and the challenges that the Indonesian migrant workers face. That's why don't call them, ask them money. They also struggling to get money in my country. And also the labor right violation are rampant, of course. ask them to work from 8 until 6 o'clock, ask them to work at the construction workers on Saturday, Sunday without overtime. That's common, you know. And also the information and communication barriers, because they don't know to who they want to talk to. Especially when they come from the rural area. For example, that we face that the ladies from this Papua area, the languages that they speak is not the normal Indonesian that we understand. So that's so deep, and we don't know what she wants. And I do believe at that time, because this case has happened in Penang, she needs help. Maybe she ran away or she get away from the family, and she just get help. But fortunate, the people who get help, that she get help, they brought her to the office of this consular of this Indonesian embassy. Then they check, okay, they come legally. She come legally to Malaysia, but she being put in the one of the house. Then we found out that she being abused. That's why it's very important. Again and again, I always say the pre-departure, before go to Malaysia, to any other country, let them know the laws of the country, let them know do's and don'ts in the country, and let them always keep contact with the family in Indonesia, and also contact from the embassy in Malaysia, and any others officer that they can reach. So it's any emergency that will be easy for them. Next slide. Okay, this is the sector-specific problem, okay? If the plantation workers, it's just very low wages. Very low wages, because they don't know where to go. If some being promised, okay, you got 1,500 ringgit Malaysia. But at the end of the day, the company say, okay, since you use electric, you use this, they cut off, and they got only 800. Cannot. That's not what you promised them. You promised them 1,500, it must be paid 1,500. Some unpaid wages. Because why? Because they are in a very rural area. No one can reach them. They also cannot reach the people that can get help. And more, what is worse for them is passport retained by their employers. This is a common attitude of the Malaysian company to always retain the passport of their workers. I think we talk for so many times, we have seminar, we have workshop, we have enforcement agency, we're telling to the company, you cannot hold, you cannot retain, but still they're doing it. Especially in rural area, in Sabah and Sarawak, because the enforcement unit are very far away. Even in Peninsular Malaysia, they're not so brave, because it's easily for the workers to get help. But for the Sabah and Sarawak, always a problem. And moreover, the immigration law there is different from our immigration law here in Peninsular. And also heavy workloads. You know, sometimes, as I said to you, they are heavy. Working in plantation is not easy. Working in plantation is always not easy. It's a hard work. That's why many of these workers, after 3 years, 4 years, they want to come back to Indonesia. They got enough money, they come back. And we lost, because that is the expert of the people, you know, the guy who knows about the fruits and all that. But we cannot, because he said, okay, enough money and come back, because of the heavy workloads. Yeah? And for the domestic workers, this is a problem because it's not covered by Malaysian law. Domestic workers are not put in any law that I discussed with you just now, because it's in somebody household. Yeah, and if they're being mistreated by the employers, nobody knows except the neighbor listening to their screaming or knows their suffering, then call the police. And the freedom of women also being restricted. And what the problem also that we get is, if the Indonesian maid is a Muslim and working in a non-Muslim house in Malaysia, is they are not being allowed to pray, not being allowed to fast, they're not being allowed to have scarf or hijab, and they are not allowed to, they are need to cook pork, and they also need to wash and bath the dogs. And sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, that's why many Indonesian ladies, they don't want to go to domestic workers anymore in Malaysia, because of this. And it's a neighbor, my neighbor, when my previous house, my neighbor, the mother-in-law came, and they have the Indonesian maid. The Indonesian maid, I can see that she really want to talk to me, because she's a Malay, right? So, and this is a Chinese, without prejudice, Chinese. So when all of them out, suddenly she saw me cleaning outside, and she said, Ibu, Ramadan ya? I said, yes. And she being she being kicked out, she cannot go out, the whole family out, and they lock her in the house. So she just opened the door and see me, and on that barrier she said, "Is it Ramadan?" I said, "Yes, Ibu, it's Ramadan." "I cannot fast. I don't know. I heard it's Ramadan." "You cannot fast?" I asked the lady, the boss, "I can fast." No, cannot, because you have to work. You cannot fast. So she asked her to start working 5 o'clock in the morning, to prepare everything, breakfast, blah, 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 until 12 midnight. And I said, then I have my own, she said she got the room, okay. But the problem is she cannot fast. And she said that, "I don't know when is the Lebaran." I said, "Bu, Lebarannya lagi 3 hari. Oh, iya, I don't know." So can you imagine the right as a Muslim are being denied because she's working with a non-Muslim family? Something that both countries never discuss. Yeah, and also the freedom of movement, and sometimes they are being forced to wearing shorts, look like similar to the Chinese lady. They cut their hair short, they are wearing the t-shirt, the sleeveless, whereas when they are in Indonesia, they're all wearing hijab and all that. So this is the issue, quite sensitive, but for me, we did mention this, and there is a few times before, people are talking about not giving the Muslim maid to the non-Muslim family, but the problem is the demand of the maid from Indonesia is high. Yeah, and if they being in the Muslim family, okay, no problem. So far, you very hard to hear that any Indonesian maid being abused in the Malay house, almost none. Because Malay people is like, if we don't like it, we send him back to the agency. That's all. We don't abuse. Yeah, but others, yes, they abuse, and there is an issue also when the maid ran away. She ran away from the abused family to another to being abused, and she died. And when died, we found out that she's illegal immigrant during that. But then we discussed again with the immigration. Immigration said that the previous family need to pay her, and this one we have to charge under the criminal. 304 under criminal code, which is murder. Then that's it. Because and the Indonesian embassy is jumping on that, and they're very angry with that, because she ran away from another one just to being killed by another one. So that's why for me, domestic workers is the one that, because we cannot go and knock the door. There is no enforcement can do that because it's not covered by Malaysian law. Yeah. And then regarding the construction and services, also they are still vulnerable. Most of the time, their passport retained by their employer, and they also have low wages during the COVID, not being given like what they promised, and sometimes insufficient breaks. Like the cleaner, sometimes they cannot take break 1 to 2 o'clock because there are so many in the mall, big mall. They need to clean. Sometimes, they have to work just about 15 minutes to eat, which is not it's not good because they promise to have 1 hour. But sometimes the malls are too big. Now Malaysians also love to follow Indonesia to have a very big malls. So many big malls and many cleaners, and it makes the cleaners have to work around the clock. So that's the issues. So, but still, the sector-specific problem, 3 of these is their passport is retained by their employers. Okay, next slide. Okay. I don't worry, I have another 3 slides, okay? And after that, we open for the discussion or whatsoever you want. Okay, this is the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, on the placement and protection of Indonesian migrant workers in domestic sector in Malaysia. This is back in 2022 when my previous Prime Minister, Ismail Sabri, came to Jakarta, met President Jokowi and signed. Okay. The funny thing about it, when Indonesia already have one system, one channel. But when it comes to Malaysia, they got 2 problems. First, human resource to look onto it, or Ministry of Home Affairs. And these 2 ministers are both of them don't want to compromise. Some say it's my ministry, another one say my ministry. So it makes Indonesia angry. So I still remember Indonesians say, you want a maid or not? If you want the maid, follow this channel only, which is the Indonesian channel, and go to Malaysian channel. Which channel, which ministry, make it clear. So after being advised by the Prime Ministers, the human resource say that, okay, let us take a chance because it's human resource. The Home Affairs is only regarding the visa only. So if human resource say okay, then the visa will be produced. So that is the protecting, the way of we protecting the domestic sector, which is the domestic helper. because they are not being protected. However, the implementation of this MOU are still facing some challenges of the both sides of government, because when it's come to the operationalize, as I said to you, many Malaysian people are still come to Indonesia and scout and get. You know, one thing that lack in our system is our immigration are still giving a chance for Malaysia to choose your own mate from Indonesia by your own and bring them back to Malaysia using social visa, then register as a mate. That is the Indonesian government not happy. Because our Malaysians said, no need lah to use this, to use the agency, we have to pay 15,000. We go. So they have the previous friend who visit Indonesia and say, hey, I heard in Banyuwangi, they got a very good girl, you know, to work at your house. So they went up to Banyuwangi in all the area of East Java, scouting the girl. Oh, I want this girl. Can you cook? Can you do this? Okay. They make the girls make a passport and so on and brought them direct to Kuala Lumpur, and then using your social visa. Of course, the immigration no problem with that because we are free visa for 30 days, and then they brought to the immigration office. This is not using the channel of Indonesian government. So Indonesian government do not know that you are going to the country to work as a maid. So if there is abuse, there is a headache come. So this is still happening. This is happening. This is happening because our system are open that way. All right? Okay, next slide. Okay, this is my recommendation. I've been in this field for 20 years. I always come up with a recommendation that whatever it is, we need to raise awareness of migrant workers among their employers. The people who take them, we need to teach them first before you teach these workers. Because you're going to take them, work with them, pay their salary, ensure their security. So we always say that. That's why previously, we do have this engagement with Indonesian Embassy in Kuala Lumpur. We try to give the idea to the ambassador that each of the family that want to take mate, bring back home from Indonesia, they need to register with the embassy. And they need to sign on certain certifications and also I can say that some sort like we call in Bahasa Malaysia is aku janji, some sort like register, agreement, guarantee that they cannot do bad to the maid. This is what the embassies of Philippines do. So you cannot hear any Philippines maid being abused in Malaysia because of this, and the price is high. For example, Philippines maid say we give the skill maid to you 1,500 above. Take it or leave it. Simple. Because of this made come from Philippines to our country, our skill, the skill one. So this is what we discuss with Indonesian authority. You need to ensure that your people who come is skill one. So then the embassy can do this. Like, okay, you want to take our lady to work with you? This is the skill. Workers not going to receive any below 1,500 ringgit, 1,500. This is what the embassy did before. They say if you want to take the maid from Indonesia now, you have to pay 1,300. And Malaysians said that, oh God, that's so high for Indonesian. So we better don't take it. I don't take it, leave it. For me, stop thinking that you can get a slave in your house. Because if you get that idea, that's why the abuse come. Right? So, and then also we provide the information and training assistance in language they understand. So maybe they're talking in their dialects from their kabupaten, right? They got some, because Indonesia got many languages. So let's explain in the languages that they understand. Okay, one of those very success story is one of my former PhD student. He wrote PhD with me on regarding how the pelayanan, how the course that at the pelayanan giving more additional value to the Indonesian workers that want to work in Malaysia. The protection for the TKI, I remember, in South Sulawesi. So when he finished with that, he made a book. And with that kind of PhD, he sent to his governors. And the governors in Sulawesi Selatan at that time, using this as a guideline to protect the South Sulawesi people to go to Malaysia by providing all the needs like in their PhD. So since that, he said to me, okay, the number is quite down, but we only export the high skill South Sulawesi people to Malaysia. So we want to avoid all those kind of abuse. So that's why I said the training and assistance in language that they understand is very, very powerful. give them and then tell them. Many of this lady, young lady, they say, I see my friend in same area, in same kampong with me. Yeah, now the parents rich. I still Indonesia, I'm not rich. We have to give them the idea that not necessarily working in Malaysia can be rich. We want them to know that they are not going to have a bad life in Malaysia. We have to ensure their rights being protected during their stay in Malaysia. That is the most important for me. Maybe other people, they got money and all that is their rezeki. But for us, before we send our kids, before we send our people abroad, ensure they are being protected in Indonesia and also in the place that they are working. Yeah, so that's why there is awareness of hiring practices and working conditions among employers. Again and again, I always come to the Ministry of Human Resource in Malaysia, in Putrajaya, discuss every 3 months about what is the next for our local people that hire foreigner. What are they done? Are they follow the EPF? Are they follow this insurance? It's tiring, but you have to do it. Because if you don't do it, no one wants to do it. And the cases of the migrant will be like, come up, rise again. Yeah. So, and we also cooperate very good with governments. Of course, like me, with the Embassy of Indonesia, the trade unions in Malaysia, and the NGOs. And NGOs like Migrant Care in Malaysia, Tenaga Nita, they are very active protecting these rights of migrant workers, and they are very loud too. Sometimes Tenaga Nita being, the government don't like them because they are really fierce, and they say this is the situation of the migrant workers. It should not be happening in Malaysia. Blah blah blah. They are really means it. So the government, that the government always want to cover their political mileage and all that. So they don't like the NGOs. But for me, we have to work with the NGOs because the NGOs will always take the cases daily and will send to us, okay, this is the case and what is on. And we using our link as an academician and researcher to cooperate with the government. So easy for us to talk to the embassies of Indonesia and see this is what happened to your people and this is what you need to do, and you convey the message to the government of Indonesia back in Jakarta, what's next for them to do. So at least they have the idea, this is from the ground. It's not like somebody come and have a nice diplomatic way. No, we don't want that. We want protection for everyone. That's why we are in this area. Okay, next slide. There's last slide, yeah? Okay. This is the last slide from me. Okay, my recommendation and conclusion, how to creating a migrant workers network to ensure effective representation. We always ask them to actively organize migrant workers organization. This is my every time you change your attaché migrants, migrant attaché this in Kedutaan Indonesia, what we do is we have the courtesy call to him or her and tell them you need to organize migrant worker organization according to the region, north, middle, south, east, Sabah, Sarawak, because if not, you don't know. Okay, I'm working with so many of them for past 20 years. Some are very good, but I can tell you many of them work in Malaysia, they are very committed. And I think the Indonesian government also selected the diplomat, who to work as a labor attaché in Kuala Lumpur is the one that have to be tough, thick skin, because they got 2-3 handphones for each regional. And also we need to ensure that help create and reinforce community support network. This is where ILO come. ILO come in 2018 to Malaysia, and we are still continuing the work with ILO and Ministry of Human Resource, where we go to the school. We want Malaysian to have the idea about migration, immigrants people, since they are small. And it's really good because the ideas and the view of Malaysian people towards the migrant workers now, it's different compared 20 years before. So ILO is really happy with it, and they promise to continue this. We want to bring them to university. We want them to know that migrant workers are not slaves. Migrant workers are professional workers, same like us. The only thing is they are working in a certain sector and they need to be paid accordingly. Not take advantage of these people because you think, oh, they are from poor country or so. No, there's no other that way. This is must be looked into humans issue and also protection because we are the receiving country. And also we inform members about the ILO and its machinery. This is also that I talked to Dr. Wahyu before, that when you have certain subject that alerts the people and the government about what happened at the international. What is the new and international migration law, for example, and how Indonesian react on it, and how the Indonesian government react on ILO guideline, and how Malaysian government react on that. That's very important, because if both understand and agree to that guidelines, we can minimize the abuse cases and also any unfairness to the Indonesian migrant workers. And also network with workers' organization again and again. Is very important for these newcomers to know who's who and how they can help. And we can form the partnership with existing trade union or workers association. Normally, many Indonesian workers, they don't know about it, but uh, we always have to give them the idea that there is NGO and union workers in Malaysia that want to help them. And we also maintain good working relationship, cooperate and exchange information. Like what I'm doing now, I'm in Jakarta, have a good relationship with this university, University Terbuka. So from that, I will exchange my views, my knowledge, and we got the information. So from education side, we educate our people, educate our children, our youngsters, our adult about the importance of us sending the people abroad, and what is the sending country responsibility when receiving our people abroad. That's a very significant for me. And we also promote education and awareness raising campaign, which we do always in Malaysia with ILO help and NGO. And also we strengthening training for migrant workers. This is a very crucial. Please ensure that we strengthening their training. When you strengthen their training, they'll be very knowledgeable. And when they are very knowledgeable, they can ask more money. For example, if you send the staff or migrant workers to Hong Kong, they need to speak English, or speak Mandarin, or speak Cantonese. So when you want to send people to Malaysia, are you ensure that they cannot speak this language? Give them strong in languages also. They might not working with Malay family, with others family. They might working also with the experts or the embassies or ambassadors in other countries in Malaysia. So this is a very important. The last part is to strengthen the training for migrant workers, start from their home country. So that's why I'm not going to comment on how the way that the training being given in Indonesia, because I do believe the Indonesian government have that guideline and the way of training. But I always believe strengthen their training, ensure they are knowledgeable, ensure they know their rights, so then they can happily go and work in other country. Knowing their rights is very important. Knows the law is second important. And third is you're always aware to whom they can communicate when they are abroad. That's very important. So with that, I'm saying thank you very much for my presentation, and I give it back to Mr. Teo.
Give an applause. Thank you very much, Prof. Salawati, for your informative and insightful presentation, especially the words lorong-lorong tikus that called gang senggol in Indonesia. And it's a new information for me that our construction man is very important in Malaysia, our strongest coolie, you know. And but I believe many of us have again new understanding regarding the crucial issues faced by Indonesian migrant workers. The rights of migrant workers, the houses, insurance, healthcare, and many more. Both of Indonesian and Malaysia, we need each other. Malaysia needs Indonesian migrant workers, and Indonesia needs jobs. On that basic, a balance is needed between rights and obligation. Well, we will now move into the Q&A session. For those of you who have questions, please raise up your hand and for the offline and
to have the school. So if you ask me, because Malaysia don't want to sign the CMFW, so we can't go with that. But at the same time, we cannot deny the right to education because Malaysia is the party to the CRC, children right. Malaysia is a party. So if you deny the rights of a children of migrants, Malaysia is against what this signatory of this party. So what we do is now we discuss with the government of Indonesia to find the land for them in Sarawak to build the Indonesian school for these migrant workers' children. But there is also from Lahad Datu and Sandakan in Sabah, the needs of it is worse than in Sarawak. So my last discussion with Indonesian attaché before, they said that they're also looking, they're going to Sabah at that time to look which area is better because Sabah is very unstructured. You know, they're very far away. If they want to build in the middle, it's far away from them to connect Sampurna, Sandakan, and Lahad Datu. So which place that much more needs, they will go. That's one of the issues. Otherwise, they have to ask the migrant worker to send the kids back to Indonesia. Otherwise, they're not going to study. Okay, like in Peninsular Malaysia, there is a dare of Indonesian migrant workers from construction area. They send their kids to Malaysian government school. They pay double. But they said it's better rather than they don't go to school. So they can speak Bahasa Malaysia like us. They are same like Malaysian kids, not that Indonesian kids, but many of Indonesian, they have the very high patriotism. So they said, then the kid will be more Malaysian rather than Indonesian. It's not good. But some, they are very open-minded. They say, I like my kids to be in Malaysian school. They pay double. So the kid is more or less is like Malaysian kids, not like Indonesian kid because they speak Malay. They are learning everything in Malay, history, Malaysian history and all that. But many plantation workers, they don't want that. They want Indonesian school. So this is what the Indonesian government, through the your embassy in Kuala Lumpur, they are finding a land. So the pioneer will be Sarawak and will followed by Sabah. So far we have to, because if we don't give, we breach the CRC.
All right. Okay. Is that answer your question?
That's clear, thank you.
Okay. All right. The second question comes from Mata Lintang Hinanjalu from the online participant. That's very exciting. Many awesome, valuable information that I'm very glad to receiving and hear directly from the Honorable Speaker, Prof. Dr. Salawati Matbasir. My questions are directly to you, the Honorable Professor Dr. Salawati Matbasir. First, that there are several cases, the problems and inequality of justice faced by Indonesian migrant workers in Malaysia regarding excessive worker hours for Indonesian migrant plus low salaries, which in certain cases are not paid immediately by Malaysian employers. Plus, they also receiving physical violence like rape silently and abuse sexualities. Plus, we also saw in TV news that an uninhabitable or minimum standard of housing condition for work etc. Even though that true, there are indeed many criminals workers from Indonesia committing crimes in Malaysia. Second, repetitive again and again the confiscation of personal document of Indonesian worker by their boss or employers, such as passport, which is result in legal uncertainty for Indonesian workers. Third, what do you think, the Honorable Speaker, Professor Dr. Salawati Matbasir, to provide the best legal solution to above condition for both workers and employers? Does the Speaker think that fourth, does the Speaker think that training in Malaysian law, including criminal and civil law, is necessary for Indonesian migrant workers in Malaysia to provide a full understanding of rights and obligations from a legal perspective in Malaysia and law? And fifth, are there pro bono lawyer or legal aid institution in Malaysia to provide free legal aid so that Indonesian migrant worker victims can get compensation and restitution from criminal boss or employers? And maybe it's all been explained. Very sorry because we were listening while working, so we couldn't focus on it. Thank you for your answer, Professor Dr. Salawati Matbasir.
Thank you, Mata Lintang Hinan Jalu. Kamu membunuh saya ni. Okay, well it's okay. Okay, he curious, and I think that's the question. No problem. Okay, of course, I agree with you. There are several cases inequality faced by the migrant workers, Indonesian migrant workers. Not only a few cases. There are many cases, and of course, the low salary. Yes, I discussed with you just now. There is never-ending story because as long there is human, always want to take advantage for another human. Yeah, and that's why we need to educate our company in Malaysia not to look at the immigrants as an immigrant, but they're also human being, and many of them actually highly educated. Not because they're being immigrant, they are stupid. No, please. There are some are very good. They just want to get so much money. Simple as that. And this is the things that you said, whether this can be how we try to solve this problem. Oh yes, we try to solve this problem by so many times. Okay, because when we got if they don't come and don't report, we don't know. What we know is when many of them report or get to message embassy or any NGO nearby or to us, then we will definitely bring this to the authority because we have the connection. So in this case, normally, once we get that report, the Ministry of Human Resource will go and check. That's how we have to do it now because MOHR, the ministry that very responsible for this these migrant workers. So we will ensure that the enforcement unit by MOHR will take an action, and we have the Attorney General's Chamber's representative at each ministry, and they will prosecute this company or family because of not paid the salary or low salary being paid. That is now what happened in Malaysia. Go down first. Okay, go down. Okay, and also regarding you see the standard of housing condition. Okay, I telling you what. Many Indonesian from various tribes come to Malaysia. Okay. And many of them are working in many parts of sectors, as I said just now. Okay. The problem is in Malaysia is still at the construction site. Okay, many people love to connect the contract workers at the construction site with many crimes happen in Malaysia, but there is no research prove it. It's just a rumors among themselves. So for me, that's why we go for the standard of housing condition. And we have the law already since 2019. But if we have to go and check every time at this construction site, because as I said to you, other sectors, okay, they put in a condominium, in a nice house, but construction site, they will stay at the construction site. So which part that they can have? So if you go for the big developer, like SP Setia or IOI, they will provide a very good housing at the site because they a million, a trillion company. So they can provide that, and they can also deduct their taxation to the Malaysian government by doing that. But if this construction company is just a middle, they don't care because they want to get as much as benefit and profit as they can. So that's why they just say, okay, you just build the house, whatever it is looks like, the kitchen, I will provide this toilet, the move toilet, so it's okay. So that is not fulfill the requirement of 2019 Act. So if you ask me, regarding the criminals workers or working crimes or whatsoever in Malaysia, you can't deny it. But not only Indonesian, we have Mexican people who do crimes, African people do crime. So to do the bad crime in Malaysia is not Indonesian. Is anyone can be. But for me, of course, if you ask, like yesterday, I discussed with a few lecturers here also. I said the problem with people from Madura. That's always people from Madura that been saying, without prejudice. I don't want the Madura people to come and knock me. The point is, because whenever they come to Malaysia, they have a fight. They always end up with murder. So this is the type that the various of crimes that being done in Malaysia. uh, when they have a fighting among Indonesia, there was always Madura versus someone else, and there's someone else die. So this is why when I talk to the police officers and all that, they'll say, ethnic Indonesian that always give a problem is Madura people. They always say that. They don't mention another ethnicity. But for me, we take it this thing more on the basis that when whoever want to do crime, not necessarily the immigrants. It can be local. It can be everything. So that's it true. That's it's true. And also regarding the second question. Okay. Regarding the second question, yeah, the confiscation of personal document, it is something that's supposed not to be happen. That's why we campaigning now. The rights of those workers is do not give their passport to anyone. But if they're working in the family, they are afraid they will give because no one with them. And we also have the cases where the kartu tanda is lost, and you think easy to do it again with the 120 people because they come from the whole area of Indonesia and need to look at the database where they make it. And Indonesian embassy also need to be very careful because anybody can say I'm Indonesian. Is it true they are Indonesian? Ask them to sing the Indonesia Raya. They feel Indonesia Raya, they are not Indonesian. The Malaysian attest to the Malaysian people because we got many Chinese who claim are Malaysian when cannot speak Bahasa Malaysia. So the immigration said, now you stand and sing Negaraku. And cannot sing Negaraku, how come you become a Malaysian? See, this is how the test, the immediate test to any operation by the immigration, you sing. So Indonesian government also, they need to be very careful when they want to replace this kartu tanda because everybody can come and say, I'm Indonesian, whereas they are not. So it takes a long time for them to refer back the database in Jakarta with immigration. So it takes a time, whereas the meantime, these people do not have passport. Whereas in their passport, there is a visa from Malaysian immigration. So they cannot go out. They stay in the plantation area. That is something that I do believe that the Indonesian government complain to Malaysian government regarding this thing. That's why for me it's wrong. And this type of company can execute at the court for doing wrongdoings by confiscate somebody else's passport. Okay. That's why I said to you, if you ask me the best solution, always start from the sending country. You must look back at the guideline of sending migrant workers to Malaysia. You need to know that the people that you send to Malaysia, not simply just they want to work. No. Tell them Malaysia is like this, Malaysia this, law Malaysia like this, blah, blah, blah. Tell them. So then when they arrive in Malaysia, they have the expectation, okay, this is the things. So when it went wrong, they know who they want to contact. That's why it's very important to give them a very right contact and also to whom they know. And again, give them also the NGO's number. This is very crucial because the NGOs will have 24 hours line and you have to tell them this is the thing. Because if you already give them the best training and they arrive in Malaysia and they're still having the problem, they really needs help. And who going to help? Is the government's agency and NGOs. And that's why your embassy in Kuala Lumpur have a very strong section of this labor unit because of this. Yeah, and I think this is, if you ask me, that you to get the best solution at all, you're not going to get it. But the best we can do is to give them awareness, their rights, and also Malaysian part is to ensure that the company and the family who want to take the migrants workers respect and knows do and those do. But Indonesian government have to be so strong in this. Because sending country is a demanding from the receiving country. So if the sending country say, I don't want. So this receiving country have to follow. Because we want you. It's like you take it or you leave it. That's what I said. Luckily, I'm not Indonesian. If I'm Indonesian, I will pressure the government to do this, I said. Don't send our people except they fulfill this. Because if you go to the court and listen how the abuse being done to your people, I almost of the time cannot eat after that. I will always take my time to cool my feelings. Because what are these people look at this? Yeah, what you look to other human being? Are you looking at them like animal? Are you looking? How could you throw the hot oil to your servant? How could you throw, all those hot water to her? Yes, she might not know using your high technologies, whatever crap in your house. Teach her. Teach her like this, like this. She will follow it. What's wrong with you people? What's wrong with you? And embarrassment, of course. And sometimes the people who do this thing is somebody that VVIP, have a title in the society. Don't tell me. I cross all those, even from palace to the VIP minister's house. Don't tell that they are good people. No, they are not. They are same. Okay? So for me, please ensure the best training for your people and get correct contact. And for us part, for Malaysian part, we have to do our part. So that is the best solution. And then the question number 4, does the speaker think the training in Malaysian law is necessary? Oh yes, for me, yes, very much. So then the Indonesian people in Malaysia, they know do and don'ts. As I said to you, there is no harm for them to let them know the briefing about our criminal and civil law. Especially civil law is a contract law, how their contract of work, and then how payment being given to them to their salary. And also, I think that's okay to just give a briefing regarding the criminal. What is our criminal procedure code and what is the penal code in Malaysia? Simple. Don't do this, don't do this. And we don't teach them law. We just tell them do and don't. So they said, okay, we're not going to do this. So we really minimize the risk for these migrants workers. Okay, number 5, are there pro bono lawyers or legal institutions to provide free legal aid? So there is a pro bono lawyers, yes. There is a few NGOs that have the connection with the pro bono lawyers, yes. But Indonesian government now have money to hire lawyers. So many cases, the embassies of Indonesia will hire lawyers from Malaysia to bring justice to their people. I think this is another good step by the Indonesian government through the embassy, that previously they just let the pro bono do this thing. Now no more. They hired a good human resource lawyer to bring the case. That's why you hear a few cases for a few months. They give the court, the high court, the session court, ask the family, ask the company to pay and compensate the Indonesian workers. And we also have asked the immigration to not give only 6 months to the 6-month visa, 6-month visa to the victim. Give her 2 years, because court in Malaysia take a long time. We are not like in other country, because sometimes, because we are British common law, and it's everything need to be in perfect, need to be fact, evidence. So it takes 2-3 years. So that's why many of these victims, they don't want to stay in the welfare house for 3 or 4 years. They don't have income. They said, give us flight ticket, let's go back to Indonesia. Let me start again. So that's why now the Indonesian government, through the embassy, whatever case regarding, which is legit case for Indonesian immigrants, they hire lawyers. They don't just pro bono. They hire lawyers, and the case become fast, and the immigrants get justice. Okay. Okay, I think that's it.
The last question.
Yeah.
Sir. Okay. Thank you for your response, Prof. Salawati. And then the third question, we will take turn to the offline participant. Is there any question from offline participant? Okay. Oh. Oh, offline. Okay, we will back to the online participant. There is from Irsyad.
From Makassar State University. Thank you very much for the insights and explanation about the migrant law in Malaysia. But we already know all those problems. The problem is with the house standard, the problem with the healthcare, the problem with the violation, and the most important thing, the problem is with the discrimination and stigma of Indonesians. So some Indonesian still called pendatang haram, and all those problems are about migrant working is already been known by both authorities, and I think that they are working out with to those to better things situation. But what I'm going to ask you, because I couple times come to Australia to Malaysia for the community service because one of the Indonesian university requirement right now is making an international cooperation. So I come to visit those Indonesian students or Indonesian people in Malaysia. But unfortunately, we don't go to the one in Sarawak or the one in the very rural area. We only visit the one in Klang and the one in Sentul. And what I'm asking you right now, sir, in terms of international cooperation or in terms of international human rights, what do Malaysians doing in terms of the stateless people? Because those people that who already came, this is we call it retroactively studying. Those who came before the cooperation between Indonesia in 2022 and also before the Malaysia ratified the ICMW in 2019 like that. So those who came to Malaysia for working in there and they already settled in there, they even already got family from different international citizens and they becoming the stateless. So in terms of international human rights and working experience from you, so what do you think about the stateless people that who already stay in Malaysia but they cannot get to access in education? And I already come to them and teach them how the wawasan kebangsaan. They don't even know that they are Indonesian. They call themselves Malaysian. When I ask about the flag, they don't know. They probably know the flag of Indonesia, but they don't consider themselves as the Indonesian. They thought they are Malaysian. When I ask about the president names or some of ministers' names, they don't know. They only know the names of Indonesian country, the name of Indonesian flag, but they don't belong to them. So this is called the identity loss. So in terms of international human rights, this is very difficult because eventually, according to the attaché of education, I met the Mr. Muhammad Firdaus, attaché of education in there. They said eventually they go to the education access, but probably they can go to Indonesian students, but only 1 or 2% of those students or kids come to go to the education or formal education like Indonesian study. So that's why they build like sanggar belajar in all those community places. And I came to there and I come to 10 students to teach them wawasan Nusantara, just teach them that, hey, you are Indonesia, you eventually will come back to Indonesia and your country Indonesia. We don't want their lost identity to coming to them as well. So I'm going to ask you from the Malaysian part. So what do you think about that, the loss of identity of Indonesian? Do you care about that or what kind of steps do you have for that? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ishad from Makassar State University. Okay, I want to tell you the bitter part of my country. Malaysian government until today do not have any mechanism to classify which one is stateless and why they are become stateless. Okay, very good that you come to Kuala Lumpur and assess a few places. All right, the problem is why the people become stateless is because when, okay, in Sabah, you know, stateless is really there and very hard to identify whether they are Filipinos or they are Sabahan. And until today, the process is going on and it's never ending. And plus the political things. Okay, that's in Sabah because in Malaysia, we only know Sabah have a stateless. Okay, what happened is stateless people in Malaysia, we do not have any mechanism to go to them. Seriously, you might think that we're going to have the independence for 67 years this Saturday, but our Ministry of Home of
any consideration about the relation? You are a very close neighbor. I mean, you have cooperation. We have same Melayu people. I mean, is there any special act for Indonesian people probably for that?
No, that is a problem because you think that the problem that become stateless, not only Indonesian kids become stateless because of maybe they are late of registration or they don't go for the registration. That is also Malaysian was stateless in the estate. Like Indian stateless. You know what happened? there is no action from the government, and they are still stateless until the NGO come. The NGO come and brought the attention to the ministers and also to the Home Affairs ministers. There is. So we work on that, and then they get the citizenship. Okay, what happened to the stateless people, especially like you said, the children from Indonesia, is the problem is, I do believe they are working and they don't realize when they give birth, they need to register the baby. Okay, let me be clear. If a father and mother, both Indonesian, they can give birth in Malaysia, no problem, and they have to go to the Indonesian embassy to register the baby. But the hospital will give them the form, no problem, the form to register. Whether they do it or not, that is a problem. Because if they don't go and register with the Indonesian embassy, they cannot get Malaysian citizenship. No, because both parents Indonesian. Okay? Okay, if there is a father Malaysian, mother Indonesian, whether they are married or not, the kids will be Malaysian. Because the father is Malaysian. This is how the gender issue happened in Malaysia. But if the father are not Malaysian, and mother Malaysian, father Indonesian, not registered, stateless. The kids have to be registered to the Indonesian embassy. So for example, like if my husband, if for example I'm married to an Indonesian man, and then after that we forgot to register or not, my kids cannot be Malaysian, despite born in Malaysia. If we don't register our marriage. If we register our marriage, whatever it is, then can be Malaysian. This is the issue. But if the father is Indonesian, married or not, kid is Malaysian. But if for mother Malaysian, not married, cannot. But married, yes, you can be the Malaysian. So Malaysian interpretation for this citizenship, very chronic, very, very complicated, because it looks at the father. Who is the father? But the problem the stateless happen is because the late of register, or you don't register the baby. Okay, what happened was in Malaysia, many Indonesian workers, they give birth. Wherever they have the relationship with other men or with other Bangladeshis or any Malaysian man or Indonesian man, not important. But later on, they want to give up the baby for adoption. They don't give their particular. So when they don't give the particular, the baby that being adopted or being sent to the welfare house is stateless. That's why that's now what we are doing now, Dr. Irshad, is you cannot stop people for having sex. No, that is the human. But what I tell to many of the Indonesian lady, I say, okay, if you pregnant and you're not married, don't just dump the baby like that. Give your identity, your passport and all that. So then we here in Malaysia will help the baby to get PR, or whoever want to adopt them can get the Malaysian citizenship. Because many of them, maybe they're afraid or maybe they don't want to bring the baby back to Indonesia. They just, they give to the Malay family. Many cases. But no information of a mother. No father. So the baby stateless, doctor. The baby stateless. So long way to get the PR in Malaysia. Because the mother only we know Indonesian. But the father we don't know whether Malaysian or not. Sometimes the father is Malaysian. So if we can have that, we can save the baby. This is because we cannot deny that we are the party of CRC, but the immigration process for stateless is hassle in Malaysia. Because they need to know, okay, if the mother Indonesian, where is the certification and all that? Whereas when they just, the family, they know, okay, I give my baby to you, you take care like your own baby. Then she left, go back to Indonesia or married someone else, don't want to be known. So the baby, when I want to go to school, the teacher asks, where's the birth certificate? Who's your parent? That what makes them cannot go to school, doctor. But during our ministers is, Dr. I can't remember this guy. He the one who allow any stateless or refugees kid to go to government school. Don't be afraid. But when he no more in power, the another government in power, they don't continue that. So that's what you say is become more worse situation for the stateless kids in Malaysia. And again and again, I want to tell you that I don't see any urgent action from the Ministries of Home Affairs towards this. I have to say this so then I'm not lie to you. Only people who are doing migration, who are doing refugees, stateless, like us, make a noise. And I think that regarding this, there is one NGO named DARA, DARA. They are the one who are making noise, and they are the one who bring many stateless children to get the Malaysian citizenship. But they're all out, doctor. Yeah, I can tell you that. That's the situation in Malaysia. Sadly to say that.
All right. How about that, Mr. Ishad? Is that answering your questions? That's clear? Okay. All right. Thank you for your response, Prof. Salawati. And I think that the time is permit. So maybe the question from Mr. Ishad is the last question. And then before we conclude this event, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to Prof. Salawati Matbasir for her time and the knowledge she has shared. Give an applause, everybody. All right. Thank you also to all the participants for your active engagement in today's discussions. I hope this discussion had provided us with new perspective and motivate us for further explore the critical issues surrounding migrant workers. I look forward to seeing you all again at the future events. Good afternoon and goodbye. Please, Mr. Melissa.
Okay. The time to the presentation of certificates and souvenirs to the speaker, which will be delivered by the head of the law program study. Please to Prof. Salawati to come forward to receive the souvenir and certification.
Souvenir.
Tahan gitu. Oh, ditahan sebentar, Prof. Take a picture. Pakai itu. Pakai ininya. Okay, thank you, Prof. Salawati. Okay, closing reciting Hamdalah, Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. With that, the public lecture inspired insight on social and political realities Indonesian migrant worker 2024 has ended. May this event be beneficial to all. I'm Melisa, I take my leave. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To all participation to take a picture together in front of the venue, please. For the all participants, please have lunch at the dining area. Thank you.
Recording stop.